Hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Dinie Sajeeda binti Azman and I am from 3 SECVH. So this is the presentation video for my PSM1 and my title for my project is Interactive Learning of Code and Allergic Medication Making in Collaborative AR. My supervisor is Dr. Goh Eun Soo. So for this presentation, I will explain the introduction of my project, which include the explanation of project background, aim, objective, and the project scopes. Next is the literature review, where I will explain the summary of my literature review, and the tablet manufacturing technique. Next is the system development methodology, where I explain the project methodology that I chose. Next is the system requirement analysis, which include the list of software and hardware requirement, system flowchart, and database design. Next, I will explain the summary for my PSM1 and PSM2 execution plan. The problem background for this project is where the error happened during manufacturing, which mechanical error. This error happened when there are contamination of ingredients or improper formulation during the drug manufacturing process. To prevent such error, the interactive learning of cold and allergy medication making in collaborative AR is proposed, where the application will help the pharmacist to practice the process of medication making in partially virtual environment, which is augmented reality. So this is the project aims and objective, where the project aims is to develop an interactive learning of cold and medication in collaborative AR, where user can practice and learn the medication making of cold and allergic medication. So for the first objective, it is to study the application of learning medication making on common cold and allergy reaction using augmented reality. Second objective is to design and develop an interactive ways to practice and learn cold and allergic medication making. The third objective is to evaluate the effectiveness of augmented reality game-based system for learning medication making process on common cold and allergic reaction. This is the project scope. The application is compatible with Android smartphone or tablet. Users a device required to have camera to use AR camera to detect the AR marker. The application also require AR marker to display virtual medication making tools and ingredients. Next is the application is a multiplayer game base where user can have multi-user interaction in one room. User required to create or log in into an account, and the multiple user interaction is limited to only 5 users. And next is user allowed to have interaction with AR object using touch screen input. For the literature review, it covers the information about the AR technology, such as the type of AR and the type of AR display device. Other than that, I also discuss about the implementation of collaborative environment in AR or VR and the possible user interaction that can be used in the application. Other than that, the literature review also covered the general information about the medication, which is cover the type of medication dosage form and the technique of tablet manufacturing process. Other than that, it also covered the technology that will be used for to create the AR medication making application and the comparison between the existing application. So this is the type of technique for tablet manufacturing, which it has 3 types, which are wet granulation, dry granulation, and direct compression. Next is the project methodology, which I choose to use waterfall methodology. It has 4 phases. For phase 1, the requirement gathering and analysis. Phase 2 is to design the interactive learning of cold and allergic medication. Phase 3 is the implementation of collaborative AR in cold and allergic medication making. And the final phase is to test and evaluate the application of cold and allergic medication making. Next is the system requirement, where we have software requirement and hardware requirement. For software requirement, I used Unity 3D engine to build the 3D environment and use Vuforia SDK to implement the augmented reality. I also use Photon Unity Network for collaborative environment. For IDE tools, I use Visual Studio Community. And I also use Blender software to create the 3D model. And for the operating system is Windows 11. For the hardware requirement, this project require laptop. For CPU is 11th Gen Intel. For random access memory, we use 8 GB. For graphic processing unit is Intel Iris Xe graphics, and other device such as Android smartphone or tablet that have a camera to track the AR marker and display the AR content. This is the system flowchart for the application. First, user need to create or log in to their account, and if the username and password is true, the user will redirect to lobby page. And if the user in the lobby page, if the user is the host, user can directly join by click the join room button. And if the user is a client, user need to request to join room, and the user will join room if the host approve the join request. Then all the user can proceed with AR medication making process. For the database design, it consists of 8 entities, which are login, host, client, join room, request join room, room entity, medication making entity, and guideline. So for PSM1 summary, there are 3 objectives that need to be achieved based on the project proposal, which are to study the application of learning medication making on common cold and allergic reaction using augmented reality. Next is to design and develop an interactive and alternative way to practice and learn cold and allergic medication making. And the last objective is to evaluate the effectiveness of augmented reality game-based system for learning medication making process. So for PSM2 execution plan, first, the full application development will be conducted based on the system development methodology chosen. Next, to design 3D model for cold and allergic medication making using 3D modeling software such as Blender, and create AR environment for medication making process using Vuforia SDK in Unity. Next is to implement the implementation of collaborative AR in AR medication making using Photon engine. And last is the user testing and system evaluation. So as the conclusion, this project is about development of an interactive learning of cold and allergic medication making in collaborative AR, where this application will help the pharmacist to learn and practice the medication making in partially virtual world using augmented reality. By implementing the AR in medicine, it has a lot of potentials that improve the system in medication field by experience the partially virtual content in real world. This way, it can improve the understanding of the medication field. I think that's all from me. Thank you.